will give you a presentation about the Bitcoin, the freedom money for global citizens.
Okay, good evening. How is everybody doing? You good? Yeah? I'll be quick. It's gonna be like half an hour. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit how it's living with and from Bitcoin globally. So there are a couple of hints during the keynote, what you might try to do if you're trying to be having more freedom in your life. So there will be some couple of hints on that. Before we start, I'll give you a little bit background what I'm doing. And before I tell you that, I'm sorry guys, but can I ask you please, if you want to do the networking and chatting, to move a little bit back there to the bar, so that, because there is a kind of noise, so that would be really much appreciated. Okay. So what I'm doing is that I'm taking care, and my life is based around like flag theory. Do you know what flag theory means? Anybody? Okay, so what is interesting about flag theory is that you can decentralize your life. Your life can be decentralized across the globe into various jurisdictions and have in the different jurisdictions different assets. One jurisdiction can be where you live in. Another one can be about where you have a citizenship. Third jurisdiction can be about your residencies. Fourth jurisdiction can be about like where you have a company set up. Fifth jurisdiction can be where you got the offshore banking. Sixth jurisdiction can be where you have all the digital assets. Seventh jurisdiction can be where you have physical assets. And what's happening is that with those jurisdictions and decentralization is that at the end of the day, you got a more optionality because you don't have to rely on a one single country. So when something goes south, you still are somehow protected. So from just your physical mobility perspective, it can mean that you don't just rely on your ID card or cedula or just your pasaporte, but maybe you want to have like more visas, more residencies, even more citizenships. And when you have that, it gives you more mobility across the globe. And that's just a physical aspect of it. But Bitcoin is like a payment aspect of that. So, you know what is the two hardest and most problematic things that can happen in your life? The first one is that somebody will restrict the option to transact for you, so you are not going to be able to pay somebody for services. And the second option, what can happen is that somebody's going to try to restrict you from physical mobility. So you can't travel, you can't move. And what I'm doing every single time is that I try to kind of assess those problems with the two approaches. So I'm trying to look on everything with probability and with impact on your life. So how probable is that somebody will try to restrict you from transacting? It's kind of almost 100%. So it sometimes maybe happen to you that the bank says, you know, you can't do the transfer because we don't like where you send the money to, or you don't have the invoice, or give give us a proof that you want to pay somebody. So the probability that something shitty is going to happen is high. What is the impact on your life? If you don't have a backup, pretty high impact. If you have a backup for and then additional payment processor or system, and it's kind of okay. And with restricted physical mobility, it means, can it happen? I would say after COVID era, it's kind of probable that it can happen. And somebody will tell you like, hey, you can't go somewhere because of something. And what is the impact on your life? I don't know, but on my life, it's pretty high. So I want to have a backup plan for that. So solution is that with restricted mobility is that you got more residencies and more citizenships. And with restriction, with kind of transferring money, it's about having a cash, because cash is king, and having a Bitcoin because nobody can stop it if it's done in the right way. So, to the Bitcoin. What Bitcoin represents for you. Like Bitcoin can be three things. It can be store of value, and I would say that store of value, it's like for European Union, the US people, it's store of value. I want to protect my investment, I want to protect my money, I want to like keep my purchasing power. Another option is that it's a mean of exchange. And that means that you want to pay somebody for a service, and you can use Bitcoin for that. And this is more popular in Africa, I would say also in Latin America in certain areas. And you can see here that a lot of percentage of people, they don't have access to traditional banking and finance. So like Latin America, it's like 65% of people hardly can get access to the bank account. You can see Africa, it's like 80%, and Bitcoin solves that. Third thing is that Bitcoin can be unit of account, which probably is kind of, we are not there yet, because I think you're thinking in what, guaranis, or in dollars, or in euros, but yeah, you can get there maybe in the future. So what to do as a global citizen and how to pay for things, how to pay for your rent, how to pay for services, how to transfer money to other people, and you can do it with cash. Oh, sorry, there was, I need to go back. Yeah, you can do it with cash, you can do it with the banks, or you can do it with Bitcoin. So now let me a little bit give you insight about each one of those. If you can see, you got a digital cash, these are banks. You got a physical cash, which is in your pocket, and you got a Bitcoin, and what is important, I talk about self-custody. This is a Bitcoin that you have under your own control, not a kind of bank coin. So what are the differences? From the liquidity perspective, it's cool, like no matter if you got a digital cash, physical cash, or Bitcoin, you're cool. But when we look into that from sovereignty and censorship resistant perspective, so what you have in your bank is not enough sovereign or safe. So bank can tell you, hey, we don't like what you're doing with the money. By the way, it's not your money, it's money in the bank. So we are not allowing you to transfer the money, and that can happen with a digital cash. This is not happening with a physical cash and with Bitcoin. This is totally safe. This is interesting. Confiscation. Can be money confiscated. Bank money can be confiscated easily. So we don't like what you're doing, the money's done, your bank account's closed, you're done. Do whatever you want. With a cash, it's a little bit more difficult because somebody have to do a physical search. So they need to approach you, they need to have maybe a warrant to search you and to just take your cash. So you're kind of protected if you're not going to get into that level. And with a Bitcoin, if you have non-KYC Bitcoin that wasn't bought on exchanges but done in a peer-to-peer way, and if it's self-custody on your wallet where you have all the private keys, so you don't have basically no Bitcoin because you got a plausible deniability. And if somebody asks you, hey, I think you got a Bitcoin, you can say, no, I have no Bitcoin whatsoever. So you are 100% protected with Bitcoin if you have it in the right way. So what about privacy? Banks and privacy, it doesn't go together, so there is no privacy with banks. With a physical cash and with a Bitcoin, you're cool. You got your own privacy. And I would say maybe for you, as a lot of you are digital nomads, you work with Bitcoin, how to travel. So traveling with a digital cash is okay because you just go from Brazil to Paraguay and you open a bank account and you pay with bank account. It's okay if you can, if you are allowed to do that. With a cash, it's not kind of good because a lot of countries got a restriction for $10,000 just to take across the border. So cash and border is not perfect and they don't go together. And if you got a Bitcoin, and if it's the right Bitcoin, then you're okay. So, you know what? Let me tell you about this one, self-custody, okay? You got 3 types of Bitcoin. And this is really, really crucial for your global life. First one, you got a bank coin. Okay, maybe it's not a bank, but maybe bank. And that kind of Bitcoin is not a really Bitcoin. Because you can go maybe in some countries to the bank and you can tell them, hey, I like Bitcoin, I would like to invest in the Bitcoin. And the bank says, wow, we got a new customer, we are kind of friendly towards cryptocurrencies, so let me sell you a Bitcoin. So the thing is, what's happening is that you got the Bitcoin in the bank on their sheet, allowing you to have it. But if the bank doesn't like something, then you have no Bitcoin, 0, none. So it's just like a NGU, like number go up technology that you want to be exposed to the price of the Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, you are not having Bitcoin at all because the bank can decide to strip you from the old Bitcoin you have. This is the goal of the governments, and it's a CBDC, it's a central bank digital currency. And the thing is that it's not about like the banks want to offer you Bitcoin, it's more about to start offering you CBDCs. Second option for Bitcoin, what you got, is that you got a KYC coin. What is it? It is that you go to the exchange. Let's say, have you heard about Coinbase or Binance? Yeah, big exchanges. So you go to the exchange, you load it up with your cedula or with your ID card, you give them your name, your photo, your number, your birth date, your shoe number, your underwear size, everything. And then they allow you to buy Bitcoin on their exchange. If you take that Bitcoin in your wallet from the exchange, it's still kind of okay. The problem is that you have no privacy, like 0. Everybody knows that you bought Bitcoin. exchange knows that you bought Bitcoin for a certain amount at the certain date and time, and they know who you are because they got your cedula, they got your ID card. At least if you buy Bitcoin on exchanges, just take it from the exchange and don't leave it there. Because otherwise, you have a Bitcoin, it's on a centralized exchange, which means that you don't have Bitcoin because it's just a matter of time when the exchange is going to get hacked or stolen Bitcoin or go bankrupt and you have no Bitcoin at all. Third option is that you're going to go over here and you're going to meet somebody, counterparty, and say, I want to buy Bitcoin. And that counterparty is, awesome, I want to sell Bitcoin. So you do the peer-to-peer exchange, fiat currency for Bitcoin, and you put it on your wallet. So what's happening is that you are self-sovereign individual. Because first thing is that nobody knows about that transaction, so nobody knows about Bitcoin you bought. And second of all is that nobody can stop you from sending that Bitcoin for a beer over here. Okay, so they accept Bitcoin here in Palo Santo. So you can go to the bar, pay with Bitcoin for a beer, and nobody can stop you. So over here, that's the Vexel you've seen, that app. I already have like in Asuncion 7 deals right now to buy Bitcoin. I got like a couple of deals in Sao Paulo in Brazil. When I want to buy Bitcoin, when I wanted to sell Bitcoin, I got like 10 or 15 deals already on the Vexel. For me waiting, if I want to do that, I can easily find somebody. It's like a Tinder for Bitcoiners that I can find somebody, some counterparty, and buy Bitcoin or sell Bitcoin. So this is probably the way you want to do it. Okay, we're getting there. To close it up, everybody asks me, okay, I understand what you're saying. I understand what are your thoughts, but how that works in praxis, how you do it daily, how you live with that. So let me tell you a little bit about that. This is the best approach, what you can do. What you can do is that if you got Bitcoin and you want to live from Bitcoin, step number 1 is that you got a hardware wallet. And that hardware wallet is a device that you can connect to your computer. And the beauty of it is that the device is not connected to the internet. It's never connected to the internet. So all the private keys from your Bitcoin are in that device, and you are fully sovereign, self-custody, having Bitcoin under your control, and nobody can tell you what to do, okay? But it's a little bit unpractical when I want to buy a beer, because I'm not going to be connecting the Trezor here to the computer to buy a beer. So in case to buy a beer, I use those wallets. And all those wallets are software wallets that are here on your phone. And you can pay for IPA over here, beer with a Phoenix, Zeus, or Breeze, and that transaction goes like within 1 second. 1 second, you got a beer, okay? So these are pretty good self-custody wallets that you can use, and the beauty here is everything is under your control. You don't trust anybody. Nobody can steal it from you. This is a nice transaction, why it's beautiful. Can your bank do this? This is a transaction from 2022. It's a value, it's a 50,000 Bitcoins. So 50,000 Bitcoins, by the way, is $5 billion, okay? $5 billion. Sent within 10 minutes for 50 cents as a fee. Can your bank do it in 10 minutes across the globe, sending $5 billion? Okay, if you know that bank, I want to know that bank, but I really doubt that any bank can send $5 billion without questions, without any invoices, and additional documents, that you can send it. With Bitcoin, yeah, be my guest, $5 million, bang, 10 minutes is there. If you ask me, if you're a beginner, if you're starting in Bitcoin and you are not much into that and you're like tipping your toe into Bitcoin a little bit, so maybe I would suggest you to try these 3 wallets. And it is because these wallets are custodial, so you have to trust a counterparty. But the benefit is that you don't have to understand the technical stuff behind it. You don't have to understand what are the channels, how to balance the channels, what is the income liquidity, what is the outgoing liquidity. With those wallets, which is a wallet of Satoshi, or here, Blink wallet, we've already talked about it today, or Aqua wallet, that is on the top of a liquid network, which is another layer. These are really good, beautiful, easy to use wallets. And if you want to pay for your lunch, for your beer, maybe for rent of your apartment, and somebody accepting Bitcoin, you can do it easily with those. And when you get into the understanding Bitcoin, you can scale it up from those custodial wallets to those self-custody, which is of course better. And the third option is, okay, let's see, we're in Paraguay, okay? Still, there are not many options where to pay directly with Bitcoin. So if you're maybe in let's say El Salvador, there are a couple of options how to pay with Bitcoin because they should accept Bitcoin in El Salvador. Or if you're, let's say, in Czech Republic, now in Czech Republic in Europe, you can pay with Bitcoin everything. You can have groceries paid with Bitcoin, you can have electronics, all the incomes, you can go and have a lunch and everything paid with Bitcoin. So basically, there are already countries where you can pay with Bitcoin directly. But if we are here, I can go now to Super Says, and in Super Says, I will have a difficulty to pay with Bitcoin. So what can I do with that? So here are a couple of fintechs and proxies that you can use, and the merchant, the vendor, is going to receive fiat, but you are going to spend your Bitcoin. So good services that you can work with are Red.Pay. They are Hong Kong-based fintech. You got a Visa card, you load it up, top it up with your Bitcoin. You can spend Bitcoin from your Red.Dot account. It's working easily. You can do KYC with your cedula in Paraguay. It works here in Latin America. They got a really good spread, so I kind of like it. Second one is a user pay, which is again kind of like a crossover between Hong Kong company and a Paraguayan, because they are also based in Ciudad del Este. You got again a Visa card, you top it up with Bitcoin, you pay here, tap with a Visa card, you pay for a beer, and in the moment of paying, they swap your Bitcoin into the fiat currency. Now the difficult one, again, you can do KYC with your Paraguayan cedula. It's not a problem. I like this one. In the middle, this is Meru. It's a US based, but they're focusing on transferring money into Latin America. So you can top it up with Bitcoin. You can easily send money to your bank accounts in Paraguay, Uruguay, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina. So they are like trying to facilitate how to get money on your bank account in Latin America, and it can go directly from your Bitcoin. So it's kind of cool. You also get a US bank account with that. You got a Visa card with that. Pretty awesome here in Paraguay to use it and pay with Bitcoin, but the vendor doesn't know I'm paying with Bitcoin. And the last two are more like a proxies. And it's a Bitcoin company where you can pay for services totally anonymously, so you don't have to do any KYC. And a Bitrefill where you can buy vouchers in Amazon, pay for a voucher with a Bitcoin, and buy a new, let's say, microphone, or new camera, or a new phone, whatever you want. So I got two last slides, and it's more or less just a recommendation what to do. And if you're in Bitcoin, I just want to emphasize on two things, and that's how to protect your digital assets in general, and what to do about your OPSEC. So with digital assets, try to, and it's not just about a Bitcoin, but it's more about your security on your phone and on your laptop. Try to use open source projects that you can verify what kind of software you're running. Try to use end-to-end encrypted services. If it's not end-to-end encrypted, you're running kind of like not sure what you're running, but there can be easily backdoors. You are not sure about the communication if it's encrypted. If you use a cloud and you don't have your own server, try to get out of the Five Eyes jurisdictions. Five Eyes jurisdictions are about sneaking on citizens if you're having a digital data in those jurisdictions. So long story short, if you want to store somewhere data, try Switzerland, Iceland, that they are pretty good with privacy. Try to harden your devices to know what software you're running on your phone, what software you're running on your computer, to be sure that you know what your computer is doing. Self-custody Bitcoin, don't trust counterparty because you never know when you can lose Bitcoin. And the last thing is, it's good to have a privacy, but don't be mistaken with privacy and anonymity. Privacy is not anonymity. Anonymity is not privacy. Okay, so if you're a little bit better with privacy and not everybody can see in your bedroom because you got curtains, it doesn't mean that you are anonymous. So this is important to have in mind. And I like OPSEC. I do a lot about OPSEC, and I like especially the physical OPSEC, but there's also a digital part of the OPSEC. And what I want to say is, if you have and operate with Bitcoin, try to be smart, okay? Don't talk too much. Because there is one proverb, and that is loose lips sink ships. You talk too much, then it's going to go bad for you, okay? So if you don't want anybody to know about something, so don't talk about it, okay? Watch out what you're putting on social media. Okay, don't try to put everything on a social media because that is dangerous. If you do something on a social media, try to get rid of GPS locations from your photos. Try to strip away EXIF data from your photos. Try to strip everything from that nobody can track where you at, when you've been there, when the photo was taken, and so on. Try to protect your privacy. If you have to disclose your ID, your cédulas, your passports, try to have multiple, and try to have one ID that is totally leaked. Because you're probably gonna leak one ID. And if you have to leak one ID, try to use that one ID for all the services. Just leak one ID, but the other IDs keep it private. Not all the services needs to know all your IDs. So decentralize and compartmentalize. So to leak just one ID, and ideally leak just one ID that has no direction on it. So no domicilio, okay? Without domicilio. You don't want to leak the one with domicilio. If you can, try to use legal services to protect your physical person. Legal service to protect your assets. Legal service to have an address, to have a virtual address. Don't disclose your domicilio where you live in. It's not a good idea. Don't disclose anybody where you live in at. Nobody needs to know it. If it's possible, try to use persona jurídica, like a legal service, like a company, to protect your assets. Like if you buy a car, try to put it on the company. Don't have it on your name, because nobody then can know that you own some assets. The same is with a house. Try to have a house written on a company, not on your physical person. Be careful what you're wearing, because your dress can disclose kind of a lot. Where are you from, if you're wealthy or not. So try to be a gray man. Try to blend in and don't just bring attention to your person. First rule of Bitcoin is that you don't talk about your Bitcoin. You can talk about Bitcoin, but you don't talk about your Bitcoin. So you can help others, but don't talk about your Bitcoin. And the last one is ramp up your privacy and be careful about your behavior online. So if you want, you can scan the QR code. This is like a global Discord community we're running, where we talk about Bitcoin, where we talk about residencies, citizenships, businesses, how to effectively run your life, investments, and traveling hacks, and so on. We're running it also in English. So it's more about like a community sharing experiences, what to do and not to do. So you got the opportunity to join. It's on Discord. You can, if it's something that you like. Okay, and the last one. If you want to follow me, you can follow me. You can scan another QR code. It goes to Linktree. So you got the details and context for me. So email. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on websites. I write a blog, so you can read my articles about Bitcoin, privacy, OPSEC, how to behave in a different, like continents across the globe. That's there. So thank you for listening to me. It was a pleasure. If you want to ask me something, I'm going to be available here around. And yeah, it was good. Thanks again.
Otázky ještě, v rychlosti.
Jo, okay.
Akorát někdo to dal do krabičky, nevím jak to... So, if anybody has a question, please raise your hand and I will quickly come to you and you can ask. We have a couple of minutes so you can ask questions about the topic. There's one question. Whether you should suggest for children KYC mixing?
Say again.
And what do you think about this mixer like wasabi?
And KYC and mixers?
Yeah, if you already have KYC Bitcoin,
Uh-huh.
what do you suggest and what do you think about this mixer?
Okay, so the question is about KYC Bitcoin and the mixing services. What to do about that? Okay, so like there are two perspectives how to look into that. And the first one is that you're getting and buying Bitcoin on a KYC service, which means the Bitcoin all the time is the same. That's not that Bitcoin would have KYC on it. The KYC is on your physical person. So the thing is, if you go and buy Bitcoin on the exchange, it's not a problem of Bitcoin itself. It's a problem that the exchange got some kind of your name and your ID card that you bought Bitcoin in the past. So if you mix Bitcoin later on a mixers, it's okay. You can lose the track of where it comes from. So it's not a problem like to anonymize and get anonymity with Bitcoin, even though it's bought from the KYC service. But still, that you bought something on the KYC, on the exchange, let's say Binance or Coinbase, there's still going to be a link to your name. And then the question is, where the Bitcoin got and where is it now? Nobody knows. But it's more about like one perspective is that the exchange got something in their books about your name buying Bitcoin. And the second is like having a Bitcoin and like with certain anonymity, and it's doable, of course, but still everybody knows that you bought a Bitcoin in the past. So the best might be to sell the Bitcoin again officially on the exchange and later on to buy non-KYC Bitcoin from your friend of yours that nobody knows about.
All right, any other questions?
Any question? Anybody wants to ask something? One more, maybe two questions?
Hola, ¿qué tal? Escuché que el 90% de las billeteras están nominadas. Si tú podés usar Celebrite o Chain Analysis, el 90% de las billeteras están nominadas. El nominado quiere decir que podés tener trazabilidad de eso o podés saber a quién pertenece.
Me preguntas sobre cómo vas a saber cómo anonimizar el Bitcoin y qué Chain Analysis puede encontrarlo. Bueno, mira, eso depende cuánto trabajo quieres dedicar a anonimizar tus UTXOs. Este UTXO se puede anonimizar, obviamente, y solo depende cuánto tiempo, dinero, trabajo quieres poner en esto. Porque no son las vías solo como estos anonimizadores, como mixers, pero la otra opción también es que tú puedes, por ejemplo, abrir un canal de Lightning. Entonces puedes abrir un canal Lightning, entonces todo el Bitcoin te va a entrar dentro del canal. Entonces puedes hacer un par de transacciones allá y pasará y después cerrar un canal. Entonces vas a salir del canal y vas a tener el UTXO nuevo. Y también depende cómo se va a abrir el canal puede abrir tú con tu UTXO o puedes pedir a alguien otro para que abra canal hacia ti con su UTXO. Entonces, en este caso, ni UTXO es tuyo. Entonces, no es solo sobre los mixers, hay mucha más vía como tener más privacidad de los Bitcoin. Y por ejemplo, esta cadena Lightning es bastante buena también, como tener más privacidad en los UTXO que quiere, como por ejemplo, poner a otro nivel de la privacidad, porque así es posible y ni tienes que usar, por ejemplo, los mixers. Y bueno, channelizes, y de nuevo, depende cuánto trabajo, cuánto tiempo, cuántos pasos vas a dedicar en esto, pero siempre es posible. Pero depende también de conocimiento, de cuál es el objetivo, si es solo para sentirse bien y tener como sentido de tener bastante privacidad tuya. Entonces hay que evaluar todas las opciones.
All right, I think we can slowly move to the other part of the document, and it's going to be the virtual presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Make some noise, please.